Okay, I'm going to walk through an example of how to actually do some work on a Python collector in Netdata. Um, we get this question a bit on the community, on the forums, people working on their own Python collectors. Um, and so I just thought I actually have a use case of what I want to do today. I want to do some work on this alarms collector. I want to make a small change that should be easy. What we want to do today is we have this alarms collector, and what it does is it basically just every 5 seconds pulls from the alarm log on the Netdata agent and stores a 0, 1, or 2 based on the status of each alarm. And you can have it collect alarm values if you want as well. Recently, I added this alarm contains words so that you could kind of filter and only look at specific alarms. Um, I am playing around with some custom ML alarms on my own, my own nodes, and so this config here basically sets up an alarms collecting job that I've just called ML here, and it's going to pull from all the alarms on my agent, but it's only going to filter for the ones that have the word ML underscore 1 minute in them. They're the ones I have configured. I've configured those. These particular alarms are kind of custom alarms I've configured here just to, based on the anomaly detection stuff. I'm just trying to play around with this and dog food this a little bit locally. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to just have a section of just these alarms, the ML alarms. But then what I also want now as well, so how this ends up looking in Netdata is, so in this node here, this is the one I'll be working on, ML demo, ML enabled. I have this alarms ML job basically where it's collecting both the status and the value of every 5 seconds of this particular. This particular alarm is like a rolling 1 minute average of the anomaly rate. So that's what the definition here was doing. Basically, was saying every 1 minute take the last 1 minute of the average of the anomaly rate, and then if it's more than 1%, trigger a warning. If it's more than 5%, trigger a critical state. So I wanted to have this separate so I can kind of visualize the alarms over time. So that's what this does here. So if I go back out sort of 2 hours, I can visualize the value of the alarm here in particular. So this is like the average, the 1 minute rolling anomaly rate. And so let's see if I actually look at just the anomaly rate chart, you can see that there's a spike in the anomaly rate here, and then correspondingly I have a spike in the rolling average of that here. But what I also want to do now in this case is, that's fine, but I want to put all other alarms in a different section as well. And I just realized that our collector doesn't really let you do this, because you would have to put in a whole list of all the other words in here to look for everything else that's not ML basically. And so what I want to do now is I want to add in the capability to have alarm underscore excludes words, and then I could just exclude the ML 1 min. So do the inverse of have basically another config in my alarms.conf that has basically the inverse of this, where it's just, I'll just call it like default, and I'll say just only exclude any alarms that have this ML underscore 1 min, and then that would be easier for me to kind of just have all the ML stuff in its own chart, and everything else, all the other default alarms in their own chart. So this should be an easy enough little kind of change to make to the collector. So I thought it might be a nice thing to just record kind of how you would actually do that for a Python collector. So I have basically what we want to do is in the code here, the plan will be to go in and add a new configuration variable, which is very similar to what we're doing here with this alarm contains words, and it'll just be an excludes words, and basically just another little condition in here to just exclude alarms that have one of those exclude words. So it should be a nice little simple change, and the main thing is just to show kind of how to actually edit and work on a Python collector for if you're working on your own collectors and you want to debug them, or you want to make small changes. Sort of how I do it, and how it might be useful to people when they're working on your own custom collector. So I have a little cheat sheet here, but taken from the main docs for the Python collector that's in here. There's a lot of detail in here, but basically main thing that I'm looking to do is this sort of stuff where I want to sort of edit the actual file that's running and then run it in debug mode and just see my changes. So I'm in the machine here now, SSH'd into this node, and the first thing I will do is just go in and edit the file. So well, actually, first thing I'll do is kick off the plugin in debug mode. So to run it in debug mode, all I'm doing here is copy and pasting this kind of how to debug a module. This one here is the one that works for me, and so what I'm doing here is I'm just calling the Python plugin and telling it to run the alarms collector in debug mode with a trace from our info and no lock, which means because it's already running this at the moment in the actual main Netdata process. So the no lock means I just want to run kick off another process, so I can just see what's going on. So if and the first thing I need to do before that is I need to become the Netdata user. So that's also in the docs there. So first thing I'll do is I'll become Netdata user, and then I will kick it off in debug to make sure it's kind of working as expected. And so you can see here it's going to run every couple of seconds. I think it's every 5 seconds by default, and it's collecting the values. So you can see it's setting the value here, setting it to 4. It's staying at 4. It's not changing that much because there's not much going on at the moment. And so the idea is when I make changes in the collector, I should be able to just rerun this script and kind of see my changes basically. So what I'll do is I'll just make another SSH in here, and then what we'll do is we'll just go in and edit the file locally. What we're editing here is the actual file that's executed by Netdata. You can see here it's in user libx netdata python d alarms chart.py. So this basically is the version of the file that was installed when I installed Netdata. That's here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of work on this file locally and debug and iterate on that to see if what I'm doing is working. And then when I'm happy that it's working as expected, that's when I'll then make a PR basically. And you can do it different ways. You could, you can make your own branch and install from your own branch first. But I find sometimes this is an easy way to get going. So if I hop back over into here, make it a bit bigger. Let me make this one bigger, or this bigger. Okay. So if I edit this file locally, I can just open this file and kind of just get going. So what we want to do is add this, maybe add another sort of global variable here, another configuration parameter. So just copy this. And what I'll do for now is I will I'll do just copy paste, and I'll change excludes. And from the configuration, so this self.configuration get, this is what pulls in from the alarms.conf file. So I'll just excludes words, alarm excludes words, and default alarm excludes words, and I'll add that up above. Excludes words. Okay, so, and I'll do sort of similar here. Let me see, actually I need to, where can I copy paste this in a nice way? Here, I'll just do this. It's be easier to copy paste and just change. Okay, so And usually you might use something like VS Code to do this in a friendlier way, but I'm just because this is just such a small, should be a small enough change, I said I'd just do it from the command line. So for each, so basically what these two things is just making a list of the actual exclude words. We put them in as like a comma separated string, and then we just break them into a list. Exclude word in self alarm. Exclude words. Excludes words. Okay. So we now have this basic. I'll just set the global, just so in case it's not set in the configuration file, it'll just default to whatever we put in here. So default excludes words, and I think we can just do this, so it'll just default to an empty string. Exclude words. So this is basically just kind of copy pasting the contains and the excludes, and then I think it's only down here where we check if the contains words are, you know, not the empty string, then we do stuff. So we kind of just need to do something similar here, I think. Let me copy in basically here. So what we will say is if it's set, so if the excludes words are not the empty string, and I mean, I don't know, maybe there's better ways to do this, but the main idea here is just to show example of how to do it. Then what we will do is, basically all I want to do is this. Just basically set the, where am I, go back in here. So what I would say is alarms equals, oh yeah, sorry, it's literally a one-liner. It should be, I think it is. So if I just do exclude words, so alarm name equals alarm name for alarm name in alarms, for alarm excludes, excludes, excludes word in self alarm excludes list, exclude word list, excludes word list if alarm excludes word, excludes word in alarm. So all I want to do here is, I guess, just negate this. So basically go through the alarms and repopulate the alarms dictionary based on if only for alarms that don't have one of these alarm excludes words in the alarm name. So I think that's kind of, that should be the code we need to do. And what I'll do is we will change the config to make another job, and then we'll just kind of test this. So what we'll do here is, this means, so if this is let's say this, okay, let me my mistake, I should have sudoed into this first to make that change. Let me just do this quickly. We can speed this up. Yeah, so this should just filter the alarms dictionary. All right, so save this, try again. Okay, so so what I need to do to test this now, I should probably make another conf. So I'll go into my my Netdata directory. And what I'll do is I'll edit the existing alarms configuration file. So in this case, it's going to be my alarms conf. And so what we'll see in here is what we have this ML one. And what I want to do now basically is the inverse of this basically. So what I'll do is I'll do something like this, and I'll just call it default. I'll call it default for now. And what we will do is we'll collect alarm values for now, but we'll probably turn it off because it won't make sense. All these alarms are going to be on different scales of everything else. So alarm excludes. And we will just exclude everything we had in the other job. So this, I should be able to just put in another, I should be able to just put another job in here and basically restart Netdata, and then I can run it in debug mode and see if it works. And this is where, in reality, I guess it'll get more kind of complex. You're not sure if your change is going to work each time. And I'm not sure if this is going to work actually, so let's see. So we save this. We will let's have a look. Let's hop back over to our window where we were already in here. I think I should be able to just run this now and see. So now I can see, okay, it looks like it's working. I can see here when I first launched in debug mode at the start, we can see there's two jobs. There's this alarm ML, which is the one we had started with, and then we also now have this alarms default, which is the one we call default. And so you can see here, it looks like it's working now. It's setting all these values for everything that is not. You don't see any ML stuff in there, so this is looking positive. But let me stop this. And what I'll do is I'll restart Netdata and see. Data. And let me hop over and see if we can see this change. I guess I can have a look and see for in the log to see if there's any, and we can see the way the Python collector works. Check success, 10 minutes. Yeah, this should be the most recent one. So when I restart Netdata, each collector, the Python collector, will run a check, and this is just saying that the ML check success, the default check success. So that looks kind of positive. So let me jump back over into Netdata now and see if we can actually see this. So if I refresh this page, sometimes it might take a couple of minutes to sync to the cloud. Yeah, I see alarms default and I see alarms. So now previously I just had alarms ML, and now I have another job here called alarms default. And this should, let me do, that's 15 minutes, something kind of, this is only every 5 seconds. So, and we can see the values here. We can see it's collecting. So the idea here was that the alarms ML is only really collecting any alarms that have the ML_1min in their name. So this is just this is only this one node level anomaly rate alarm that I was trying to use. And what I really wanted to do is I wanted to play around with like just visualizing all the other alarms in here, the status over time. And so down here we have the values, and you can see, okay, system entropy 2800. We can see mem available value 71. So these are all on completely different units. So this value chart kind of doesn't really make sense. What I'm most interested in is just the status chart of all the other alarms, and this will let me see my alarm statuses over time, where a status of 1 is warning and status of 2 is critical. So we can see here straight away when I restarted Netdata, there was some IPv4 resets warnings got triggered. That's fine. So that's an example of how you might work locally to edit a Python collector and kind of obviously you would probably have a better IDE set up like VS Code. It's just because I'm SSH'd in here, we're doing it on the command line, and it was a small enough change to do. But this is the example of how you would basically the main moving parts are the Python file you want to edit, which in this case is the alarms.chart.py file. This is basically the Python code that's running, and it's kind of an iteration of like make your changes in here, play around it, make changes in here, and then run it in debug mode and see if it's actually working or collecting things as expected. And then once you're happy with that, you can restart Netdata to see if that change takes effect in the dashboard. So now that's now that we're kind of where that seems like it's working. I'm gonna just do the last little bit now, which is to just make a PR on this and kind of clean things up a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll hop in here in Netdata. What I'll do is I'll actually just use a GitHub code space for this. Create code space on master, and we'll call it, something that makes sense. Actually, I didn't want to make that on master. I wanted to create code space on a new branch. Do is I'll make a new branch. Actually, so in this case, I'll if I want to make a PR, I'll go into my own fork. My own fork of Netdata. Sorry, Andrew M. And I'll do my I'll work in there. I'll work in there so that it becomes the PR ends up being a fork from my fork as opposed to in. So I'll just update this branch here. I have everything 2 minutes ago. Yeah, so let me make a branch in here. Make a new branch. Arms collector excludes words, we'll say. Get that from there, yep. And then we will once that branch is made, here it is here. I'll kind of hop in here. And then I can make a code space from here and just make my changes in here. This is just easier because I can do it all in the browser for now. Create a code space. I'll close that guy. So the changes we want to make basically are changes we had in here. This guy. So now I'm in my Google code space, and I'll just go into collectors, Python, alarms, and in this case I only need to change this file in this PR and maybe the README. I'll do that after the recording. So basically, put in this guy. These two. So you can see the changes here, and then the last change was in here. Should be able to copy paste this without breaking things. So if the alarm excludes word string is set, then what we do is we basically just filter the dictionary to remove alarms. So only allow things that don't have an alarm exclude word in the alarm name, and that's what we saw working there. So this should be basically all we need to do. That's the change. And what I'll do is I'll update the default conf to actually have a change that reflects this as well. So in this, it's similar. It's it that you want to exclude based on an ARM name. For example, CPU load would exclude all alarms with CPU or load in an ARM name. Default includes all. Default excludes none. So what I will just do something like this, and I'll clean this PR up. We don't need to do this here. Alarm excludes words. The default will be that, and this is all I would need to. This is kind of, in this case, this is to go to the PR, and then I'll change the README after. But yeah, I just wanted to just show this kind of nice quick example, nice good excuse to show kind of how to work on a Python collector if you're working on your own custom collectors, or if you're making changes to existing ones. It might be of use. So what I'll do here is ability to exclude certain alarms via config. Oh, we just do that. Commit that. Sync the changes. That's okay. Once that hits the branch here, we can 17 seconds ago we can make a PR now, and I'll just make this PR, and I will draft it as, mark it as draft for now until I've kind of cleaned up the README and stuff. Let me go down here. Sorry, I can never find the draft button in here. Convert to draft. Okay, so then this is the PR that's going to live here, and the PR, we can see the changes we've made. So we just added this global variable for exclude words. Set it to if it's not set in the conf, it'll just be an empty string. Added these two lines to pull in from the configuration file this new parameter that we have, which is this alarm excludes words string. And then there's this change here to just, if this parameter is set, then filter out anything that matches it, basically doing the inverse of what we were doing with the contains approach. So it was a nice kind of simple change. And then update the default conf, to just so that users are aware there is this parameter here. And I'll update the README as well then separately. But yeah, that was just a sort of a quick enough little stream to show how to actually work on a Python collector. Any questions or issues yourself, just kind of hop onto the community or Discord, and we're happy to help. Thank you.